All right, let's talk about the tall Austrian man, once dubbed the heir apparent to Zlatan.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the way his name ends. And we obviously, he's familiar to fans of the Premier League, obviously fans. In Italy, we saw him last season at Bologna. He did well. He 14 goals. I think does have to be put in context a little bit of the type of season Bologna had. But, you know, you're getting somebody who's tall, who's strong, who's technically gifted, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
But who hasn't always been super consistent, especially when he was younger, and had disciplinary issues when he was younger. Now, I always take that with a grain of salt because I tell myself, all right, he was younger, right? We all did silly things when we were younger. And now at 33, he hears the clock ticking and so on, and he's serious and tries to be a serious pro. And that's what he's done the last couple of years. Why do you hate this signing?
I just don't understand how we got into this place. And this is where we go back to the recruitment policy and what the hell have they done in the last 2 months? Because on August the 7th, if you start thinking, as Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, Marko Arnautovic is the answer here of our problems going forward to score goals. He's the future, because why would you not sign someone for the future?
Well, he's not the future. He's the immediate future in the sense that...
But why do you need someone short-term then?
Because
why?
Because otherwise you go into the season with Martial and Rashford. No, but and now Christian Eriksen.
We've said all summer they need more bodies as centre forwards. But go and sign someone that is not a short-term option and that is better than him.
I'm going to bring up my favorite word, amortization, and I'm going to go and tie it back to the other tall, strong, technically gifted goal-scoring centre forward that they have, that Cristiano Ronaldo fella. I would assume that it's because they have a lot of money tied up in Cristiano's contract. It's just 1 year, but you're talking 30-odd million, right, with the amortization and the wages. You know, it's clear that it's been reported that Cristiano wants to leave because he wants to play Champions League football, prepare for the World Cup, whatever. Fine. It's been difficult to move him for all the reasons that we talked about. I still love the romantic love story between him and Carlo, and maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't, at Real Madrid. But if you're United, you have a problem because this is a big asset. It's not an asset you can sell quickly. Now, if they had sold him at the end of the season, if Cristiano had found a buyer, then they would have said, oh, look, we cleared 30 million in wages and amortization. We can go out and we can compete.
Okay, so now there's no money left, you mean, for a striker? To buy someone better than Arnautovic?
Well, it's not that there's no money left, but like rather than going and blowing 100 million, 150 million now on somebody who might not be your top choice, maybe you wait a year and then you see where you are then. I'm thinking this. I'm trying to. I'm going to go out and assume.
But this is not how you run your football club.
They can't keep thinking like this. I mean, we discussed before. I mean, all these players they've signed in the last 10 years that have been short-term fixes when it's been clearly obvious for so long they need a centre forward. Because, you know, when they last won the league in 2013, they brought in Robbie Van Persie, who was a success, but it's a short-term success. Wayne Rooney by that point was on the way down a long way. So it was obvious at that point they had to start planning for the future.
Right.
They never did. They brought in Falcao. They brought in.
Well, Falcao got injured.
Yeah, but he was injured before he came.
Well,
I mean, it hadn't even kicked
at his peak.
He spent a year trying to get fit. Then, you know, Zlatan, which was a success, but Zlatan was what, 35, 36? Igalo, I mean, there's probably others that I've forgotten about. Cavani.
Yeah, Cavani.
Now, I mean, I spoke to Ed Woodward in January before he left, and one thing he said was, you know, what this team really needs right now is a centre forward, and it's no secret over the last 3 or 4 years they have tried for Harry Kane, but they were never ever going to get him because they never had this horrible word project to offer him. Now,
same with Haaland. They tried Haaland.
Yeah, they tried Haaland, and that was like the guy who failed to sign the Beatles. I mean, they had Haaland in the room. Solskjaer spoke and did all the groundwork, and because they wouldn't insert a release clause, which Dortmund were happy to do, they missed out. Now, if you're Man United or a club of that stature, don't you take a gamble? Think, right, we'll put the release clause in, but we'll be so successful you'll never want to leave. That's what Man City are gambling on now. They'll have the City think, right, you're not, you know, you might want to leave in 4 years, but you won't do. We'll keep you for 10. Now, United need to plan for the future. Now, Benjamin Sesko is a guy they're looking at, and apparently he's a very, very good player. But they've got competition, and the way United are, they'll be too slow, they'll miss out, and they'll end up with Arnautovic. Now, I mean, Arnautovic, the way you described him before, the big build-up, it sounded like Eric Cantona, a guy with, you know, but that's where the comparison stops, because Cantona had something to offer. Arnautovic is, you might as well sign Mario Balotelli. It's just a bad idea.
I feel like you guys are just going to dump all over United, so I kind of feel the need that I'm going to be lawyerly here and put my feelings here. But I think they need another body. and you can go and you can deride all
Absolutely.
these signings like Cavani or Rigolo. I think they would have been worse off without them. If you can't get somebody who's going to project as a starter and be part of the plan going forward, I don't think there's anything wrong with adding depth. We can debate whether Arnautovic is the right guy. I think 50 million for guys 33 is a lot of money.
This is not 31st of August either, Gab. Don't tell me there's no time to sign a better striker that fits your team better for a longer for the future more than just the short term. This screams to me like a 31st of August. We need someone. What can we do? Arnautovic, he knows Steve McLaren. He played for him. He knows Erik ten Hag. No problem. Let's do this quickly. Bologna will sell because we're going to pay over the odds because 50 million is over the odds.
Yeah.
But we August the 8th.
They could have signed Velocity in a free transfer. There are other players out they could have signed that would have been available.
Yeah, I would rather have Arnautovic.
He might be a success and good for them if he is, and good for him if he is, and everything. But August the 8th, come on.
I think what this goes to show you, though, is I think they didn't take perhaps a hard enough line. And by hard enough, I don't mean be mean to Cristiano. I mean make a decisive decision on Cristiano earlier.
But this
and
is
I think this is what set them up. If they had said to George Mendes, like, look, George, sorry, Cristiano's not going to play this year. None of this Erik ten Hag's going to fit him in the system. Go find another club because he's not going to play, right? You either grab your privates and you say that, or you say, we have Cristiano for another year. Eric, suck it up, make it work with Cristiano. Instead, we have this weirdo situation where, they need that insurance, and that's Arnautovic. I still think if Cristiano goes, they might still have the scope to go and bring somebody else in. But obviously the clock is ticking, and it's a tough gamble to make, and you wonder about the people who are making the decisions there.
Yeah. They should have sat down end of May, beginning of June. The club, Ten Hag, George Mendes, and said, right, what's happening? This is what's happening, and resolved it then. Ten Hag should have been boldish. Ten Hag should have said, I don't want this hanging over the start of the season. But he's left it and allowed it to happen. So although he's a new manager, and you have to give him time and and credit in the bank because he's new, he should have had that big decision end of May, beginning of June, what is happening with Ronaldo. Deal with it there and then, either get rid or sign him, or keep him at the club. Now, I'm like you, Gab, I think he will leave at the end of the window. I think there's 4 weeks to go. Clubs, players, agents panic, and I think something will happen. And I do think that Real Madrid is a good option. I'm not suggesting it's going to happen, but I do think that because of the history.
It's a good option for Ronaldo, whether it's a good option for Real Madrid.
I don't think it's bad. Terms. Yeah, but I just don't see how he stays. I just don't see how it works that he stays. The player doesn't want to be there. The manager doesn't really want him. It doesn't really fit in with him. He's not going
to be part of the long-term team that you're building, and it affects the way you play. That's what it boils down to. They've been linked with somebody else, which shocked me, but The Athletic reporting it this morning. I mean, I think they're doing cartwheels in Turin, if this is true. They've been linked with Adrian Rabiot. Can you work this?
Awful.
Can you work this one out?
It cannot be. I mean, I think they need better play in midfield. That's for sure. And again, this chase for Frenkie de Jong for 2 months now, where nothing is happening, and yet they don't sign anybody else because maybe they think miraculously something will resolve this problem or this transfer. But Rabiot, come on, again, I can name you many midfielders who are right now
World Cup. It's World Cup winner.
Come on.
Yeah, no, but I mean, he's one of my boys. And listen, he grew up literally 3 streets down from where I did. So,
and he's lived in Manchester before.
Yeah, of course. He was at City when he was a kid. So,
but weirdly, he was never in Holland or at Ajax or at Bayern, to my knowledge.
No, he wasn't. It wasn't. I don't know.
Man United, they've got a problem right now. We know that finances aren't particularly fluid. They've got issues in terms of the money coming in. It's not the Glazers have got problems with paying for the update in the ground, and there's all sorts of issues.
They may need to take smaller dividends this year.
So what, there's no more money or what?
I think the money is beginning to be tight at Man United because they're no longer able to compete as they maybe were in the early stages because City is stronger, PSG and etc. But the Man United, they can find money if they need to. So I think they really have to go out and say, like, West Ham, how much for Declan Rice? Because I think with Declan Rice, there's an interesting situation. He's got 2 years in his contract. We know he earns a lot less than his England teammates, and he will be at some point be irritated by the fact that he's playing so well for West Ham. He goes to Man United, he could treble, quadruple his wages. Yeah. Now, if he waits a year, he might think, well, Man City or Liverpool, but Liverpool want Jude Bellingham. Man City have got their Calvin Phillips, Rodri.
Sorry, what's the problem with Liverpool?
Well, if they go for Jude Bellingham next year, they're not going to want Declan Rice as well. So I'm just trying to look at the
Or
future.
maybe you go for both.
No, but the future. So it's
Chelsea.
Chelsea or Man United, basically.
Yeah.
And so if United want to sign a player that will help transform them for the next 5 years, go for him now, because in a year's time, Chelsea might be in a position to sign him.
We were, Mark and I were doing some role play before, not of that nature, but of a different nature. Mark reckons it might take, you could get him for 100 million. Well, let's just say, we're just back of the envelope, right? And Mark reckons that, correct me if I'm wrong here, it would cost you about 200 grand a week or 10 million a year, right?
Yeah.
So through the magic of amortization, if it's a 5-year deal, he's costing you 30 million a year, right? Which is roughly what Cristiano makes. So in that sense, it would be a perfect fit.
And it's a statement as well. It's a statement that United are looking at the best young players again, and they need somebody to energise them. I don't think he's a world-class player, but he's better than what they've got, and I think he would take them to another level.
Right.
Just bring something to it.
I think
in that role, there's the other guy, the guy they've been pursuing all summer, Frenkie de Jong. We're going to get into some of the Barcelona stuff later. It seems to me, and again, I'm going to stick up a little bit for your boy John Murta here and his friend Darren Fletcher. You put your offer in. The screws are tightening on Barcelona in the most recent things. You know, we know that they can't register the players as of now. They need to pull more levers, whatever. Just say, that's the offer. Take it or leave it. Deal with it. Oh, and by the way, Frankie, I know the club owes you money or whatever. We can help out a little bit with that. If you come to us, you'll have a contract and so on. You can pursue them legally, but be aware that, you know, there's no guarantees on that front either.
I think if Frenkie de Jong wanted to play for United, he would already be a United player. And I think at some point, if he doesn't want to come, let go and move on to somewhere else. And again, I mean, I've said it 5 times, recruitment policy. I don't understand how you can chase the same player for 8 weeks. Because clearly there's something that either they really don't want to sell, and I know Laporta kept saying publicly, he's our player, he doesn't want to leave, we don't want to sell. Okay, maybe this all BS.
Wait, has he said we don't want to sell? Because
yesterday, I think he said it again. I saw it.
There's always a caveat, but things have to happen with Frenkie, but the wages have to be changed. There's always a caveat.
No, maybe. But still, I think it would have happened if Frenkie really wanted it to happen by now. So I think maybe you should let go and go to another target. But I'm starting to think, is there another target? Is there even a plan B? Because they've chased the same player for so long that it looks to me like, well, they've got no idea who to go, what to do next if really Frenkie de Jong is not coming.
Because it's been driven by Ten Hag, and I think Ten Hag has become so powerful so quickly that they're frightened to say no. I mean, this whole Arnautovic thing, there's a manager and there's a transfer committee who's supposed to have an equal kind of veto. If one target isn't, Mourinho had it, you know, they vetoed a couple. I think Perisic was one that they wouldn't sign because they didn't, and a couple of defenders, maybe Boateng, no, doesn't work for us. Who's telling Ten Hag that Arnautovic doesn't work for us? So if he
might work.
But if he wants De Jong, who's telling Ten Hag, look, it's not happening. He's stringing us along. Barca's stringing us along. Let's move on.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.